The warning sirens screamed through the distant shore as Chief Engineer Beth pulled herself hand over hand through the service tunnel toward the reactor core. Behind her, the emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red. And ahead lay the kind of problem that usually ended with someone writing very formal letters to grieving families. "Beth, are you completely insane?" Captain Vexter's voice crackled through her comm, barely audible over the growing rumble of the ship's engines fighting themselves. "The radiation readings are already past deadly levels for most species." "Yeah, I saw the numbers." Beth paused to check her toolkit, making sure everything was secure. "Pretty nasty stuff. Good thing I brought the heavy-duty gear." Through the ship's hull, she could feel the planet below them, Korath Prime, a Class 15 deathworld where the very air carried enough poison energy to kill most known life forms. The perfect place for their reactor to decide it wanted to become a very expensive bomb. "Beth," Commander Tithrak's voice joined the conversation, and she could hear the barely controlled panic underneath his professional tone. "I've run the calculations 17 times. What you're proposing, it's not possible. The core alignment requires someone to manually adjust the power chambers during a full radiation storm cycle. The exposure levels would kill a Catharian battlesuit in under 30 seconds. Beth considered this while crawling through another junction. "How long you figure it'll take me?" "Take you to what?" "Die to fix it." She could practically hear his translator struggling with her casual tone. "I'm thinking maybe 3 hours if everything goes smooth, 4 if I run into complications." The comm channel went quiet, except for the sound of several different species having what sounded like the beginning of nervous breakdowns. Beth emerged into the main engineering bay to find it completely empty. Every single alien crew member had evacuated to what they called safe distance, which apparently meant the other side of the ship. Fair enough. She'd probably do the same thing if she were them. The reactor core rose before her like an angry god made of metal and barely contained energy. Warning lights painted everything in shifting colors, and the radiation detector on her belt was clicking so fast it sounded like rain on a metal roof. The whole assembly was about the size of a small building, and right now it was doing everything except what it was supposed to do. "Okay," she said into her comm while pulling on her radiation suit. "I'm at the core. Looks like we've got a chain reaction failure in the main power system. The energy chambers are about 2 degrees off center, which is causing the whole system to try and tear itself apart." 2 degrees, Vexter's voice squeaked. 2 degrees displacement in a power core matrix means boom, yeah. Beth was already pulling tools out of her kit. "Big boom. Probably take out half the continent below us, too. That's why I'm gonna fix it." She started walking around the core, checking connections and studying the readouts. The radiation levels here would have cooked most species before they could take 10 steps, but her suit was handling it just fine. Human engineering had some advantages. "Beth," Tithrak's voice was strained. "Please tell me you have some kind of advanced technology we don't know about. Some kind of human secret that makes this possible." "Secret?" Beth paused in her inspection, genuinely puzzled. "What kind of secret?" "Something that explains how you can survive in conditions that violate every known principle of biological safety. Some kind of genetic modification or advanced technology, or, oh, that." Beth chuckled while connecting her diagnostic tablet to the core's main interface. "Nah, it's just good equipment and proper planning. Humans have been working in nasty environments for a long time. You learn to adapt." The diagnostic readout made her whistle low. The core wasn't just misaligned. Someone had been running it outside normal parameters for months, maybe years, probably trying to squeeze extra power out of it without proper maintenance. Classic penny-wise, credit-foolish thinking. "How's everyone doing out there?" she asked while starting to remove the first access panel. "Anyone got coffee going? This might take a while." "Coffee?" 3 different voices responded in unison in 3 different languages, all sounding equally baffled. Yeah, hot, caffeinated, helps you stay alert during long repair jobs. Beth was already elbow-deep in the core's guts, following power cables with her hands. Don't worry about it. I brought energy bars. What followed was the kind of work that most engineers only read about in disaster reports. Beth had to manually realign power chambers that were shaking at frequencies that could shatter crystal structures. She had to adjust energy flow regulators while standing in a radiation field that would have killed most carbon-based life forms in under a minute. She had to recalibrate the entire main system, while the backup systems tried to compensate by basically having an electronic seizure. And through it all, she kept up a steady stream of commentary. Okay, I'm seeing the problem now. Someone's been bypassing the safety systems. Look at this. They've got the main flow regulators jury-rigged with what looks like spare parts from a cargo shuttle. No wonder it's having a bad day. Beth, Vexter's voice was getting higher. The radiation storm cycle is beginning. You need to evacuate immediately. Nah, this is actually perfect timing. I need the storm energy to test the new alignment. Beth was now hanging upside down inside the core assembly, rewiring power cables while the radiation levels climbed toward lethal. Could someone check on lunch? I'm getting pretty hungry. Through the ship's hull, the radiation storm from Korath Prime's twisted magnetic field began to hit them full force. The kind of energy that had turned the planet's surface into a hellscape where even the rocks were radioactive. The kind of storm that made hardened military vessels flee to the outer system. Beth just adjusted her work light and kept going. Interesting, she muttered, while replacing a burned-out energy stabilizer. The power frequency is actually shifting with the storm pattern. That's not supposed to happen. Someone really messed this up. Beth, Tythrak's voice was approaching panic. The readings are, I can't even. How are you still alive? Good question. Beth paused to check her suit's radiation readings and frowned. That's higher than I expected. Might want to stay out of here for a few days after I'm done. She went back to work, humming something that sounded suspiciously like an old Earth song, while she manually adjusted power chambers that were oscillating at frequencies that could tear apart molecular bonds. The storm outside intensified, and the ship shuddered as waves of radiation washed over them. Almost got it, Beth announced cheerfully. Just need to sync the main matrix with the backup stabilizers and there we go. The angry whine of the misaligned core suddenly smoothed out into a steady, healthy hum. The emergency lighting switched off, replaced by normal illumination. The warning sirens fell silent. Well, that's better, Beth said, climbing out of the core assembly and dusting off her hands. Should be good for another 50,000 operating hours, easy. Maybe 75,000 if you keep up with the maintenance schedule. The comm channel was completely silent. Hello, everyone still there? Beth, Vexter's voice was very quiet. What exactly did you just do? Fixed your reactor, like I said I would. Beth was already packing up her tools. Wasn't too bad, actually. The storm energy made it easier to test the alignment in real time. Saved me probably an hour of diagnostic work. You used the radiation storm to help with the repair. Sure. Why fight it when you can work with it? Beth sealed up her toolkit and started heading back toward the main decks. Physics is physics. You just have to think about it the right way. She emerged from the engineering section to find the entire alien crew staring at her like she'd just performed some kind of miracle. Or maybe like she'd just sprouted wings and started breathing fire. Hard to tell with some species. The radiation readings in that section are still enough to sterilize surgical equipment, Dr. Cathara said slowly. They will remain dangerous for at least another 72 hours. Yeah, probably, Beth shrugged. Good thing I got the work done while the storm was active. Much more efficient that way. Efficient. Commander Tythrak repeated the word like he was trying to understand a foreign concept. You consider working in lethal radiation during an energy storm to be efficient. Well, yeah. Otherwise, I would have had to wait for the storm to pass, then go back in with portable test equipment, run diagnostics, make adjustments, test again. Beth waved a hand dismissively. This way, everything happened at once. Natural disaster becomes useful tool, human engineering at its finest. Captain Vexter was studying his tablet with an expression that suggested his worldview was undergoing major structural changes. Beth, according to these readings, you were exposed to radiation levels that should have killed you approximately 47 times over. Should have, sure, but didn't. Beth glanced around the group. So, did anyone figure out lunch? I worked up quite an appetite down there. The aliens exchanged looks that somehow managed to convey entire conversations without words. Finally, Dr. Cathara stepped forward. Human Beth, she said formally, in my species' medical protocols, what you just accomplished is listed under theoretical impossibilities. Huh, weird. Beth considered this. Maybe you need better protocols. We have protocols that cover every known form of biological hazard management, radiation exposure protocols, environmental hazard protocols, emergency survival protocols. Dr. Cathara's voice trailed off. But we don't have protocols for species that consider lethal environmental hazards to be routine workplace challenges. Oh, that, Beth brightened. Yeah, humans are pretty good with hazardous work environments. We've had lots of practice. Deep ocean, high altitude, extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, radiation zones. You learn to adapt your methods to local conditions. But the radiation levels were pretty high, yeah. Good thing I brought the right equipment. Beth patted her radiation suit affectionately. This baby's rated for Class 20 deathworld surface work. Korath Prime barely registers as a moderate hazard. Class 20, Vexter repeated faintly. There are no Class 20 deathworlds. The classification system only goes up to 15. Yeah, that's because most species can't survive anything past 15. Beth was already heading toward the galley. Humans kind of expanded the scale, for professional reasons. She paused at the doorway and looked back at the group of aliens, who were still staring at her with expressions of profound bewilderment. Look, I know it seems impressive, but it's really just good planning and proper equipment. Any human engineer could have done the same thing. She smiled reassuringly. It's not like I have superpowers or anything. I just treat the job like a job, you know. After she left, the alien crew stood in the corridor for several long minutes, processing what they'd just witnessed. Finally, Commander Tithrak spoke up. I'm beginning to understand why human space is expanding so rapidly. Because they're insane, suggested Dr. Cathara. No, Tithrak said slowly, because they don't have backup plans. They just have different definitions of impossible. Captain Vexter made a note in his personal log. Recommend all future deep space operations include at least one human engineer, not for their advanced technology or genetic modifications, but for their apparently supernatural ability to treat existential crises as minor inconveniences. In the galley, Beth was making herself a sandwich and wondering if anyone on this ship knew how to make decent coffee. The reactor hummed peacefully in the background, running better than it had in years. Just another day at the office.